Starting with some sad news out of Texas, where a second child with measles has died this year, the third overall death from the virus in 2025. Local officials say the 8-year-old girl was not vaccinated and had no known underlying health conditions. Texas is now officially at 481 measles cases since late January when the outbreak started. Health officials in the state have said they believe that the outbreak will continue for another year. Most of the cases are among unvaccinated children and teens. For every 1,000 children that get the measles, 1 or 2 will die, according to the CDC. The 8-year-old girl who recently lost her life was part of that same Mennonite religious community as the 6-year-old who became the first reported measles death in February. That girl was also unvaccinated.
Yeah, and a number of public health officials have been very critical of HHS's responses to the outbreak. That includes the former FDA head of vaccines who was forced out last week. We told you about him, Peter Marks. He said in interviews over the weekend that HHS should be embarrassed by the response here, is not being aggressive enough in ensuring that we get up to the measles vaccine numbers that we were before the outbreak. Remember, we effectively killed domestic outbreaks here back in the year 2000, and it looks like now we're falling below the 97% threshold, enabling these sorts of outbreaks again. On Sunday, Senator Bill Cassidy, he's a Louisiana Republican who happens to be a doctor. He was skeptical of RFK Jr., helped ensure that RFK Jr. got through here. He called on social media for people to be vaccinated and said that top health officials should say so unequivocally before another child dies. But of course, RFK Jr. Lifetime has been very skeptical of a number of vaccines, and specifically the measles vaccine. He says that it's not necessary, or has said that in the past, and even more so, thinks that the vaccine is more harmful than getting the measles itself. You did have RFK actually travel to the region yesterday. He did put out a tweet where he was talking about traveling down there, talking about their moment of grief, that he's here to support Texas. If you keep going and going, it's a very long tweet. Finally, like the third to last sentence in there is the most effective way to prevent the spread of measles is the MMR vaccine. So he threw it in there into the tweet. Didn't you have to again kind of dig in to find that line? And he did have that line in an op-ed piece on Fox.com in early March. The issue that folks have is that he's not out there talking about it. And I should say, Jill, when we had RFK Jr. at the White House, one thing his people didn't really want to talk about was the measles. And so that goes against, literally what public health officials are saying, which is you need to be out there, you need to be forthright. We're going to see if this is a turning point now that we now have the third death related to measles.